Tyler, welcome back to the show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, man. To start, I want to give listeners just a little bit of an overview of who you are. You're an athlete and an entrepreneur. You live a very unique life. You had just ran the Bloodroot Ultra 50K. It was a course with over 6,000 feet of vertical gain. And for people that's listening, that's quite a bit of climbing over 31 miles. You have an impressive list of accomplishments here. You biked from upstate New York to Jacksonville, Florida, 1,267 miles. Let's see, Utica Boilermaker 15K. You ran it in 60 minutes. You placed fifth at the Brookfield Classic 50K trail run, and I'm sure I'm missing things, but basically, you're a crazy great athlete. You're young. You're an entrepreneur. So, yeah, I'm happy to have you on the show. How you doing, man?
Good. Good. Glad to be here.
The Co-Movement Gym podcast is sponsored by Native Path Supplements, Lombardi Chiropractic, and A Dog's Day Out Doggy Daycare. Mention this podcast or use the promo code in the episode description for a nice discount on us. So I want to talk about the Bloodroot 50K. How did that compare to the Brookfield Classic 50K?
A lot of hills, a lot more hills. It was your guys' trails, I think, were a little more intense, but these trails there were just so many hills, and it was like miles of uphill. And I honestly wasn't expecting that much uphill. That was pretty crazy. It was up over a lot of mountains. That was the big difference right there. You guys had a lot more mud, a lot more of that.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, you had about 6,000 feet there. Yeah, I think the classic is 4,500, but it's much more gradual, right?
yeah.
Like there's only two steeper climbs in the classic, but they're short.
hmm
So really our elevation is over like longer mileage, I guess you could say.
hmm
So yeah, so wow, so that was harder on the legs for you.
Yeah, so I'm a road runner. I do a lot of road running. So when it comes to these hills, I'm pretty new to all that, and it took a lot out of me. I would realize the same people every time I'd hit a hill, the same people would pass me. I'd pass them on the downhill, but the second I see a hill, give it 5 minutes, and I'm getting smoked by these people.
Yeah.
It was a big battle back and forth like that. So I am doing a lot of like running up hills, trying a lot more elevation training because of this.
Yeah, for sure. We see here, like at our gym, clients that will be road runners and then they tackle like a hard trail route.
hmm
And yeah, the legs just get smashed. It's like I call it like mountain legs.
hmm
Like it's just a huge, it's almost a different sport, running through the woods and uphill
hmm
versus road that's very predictable, mainly flat in many instances. But that's cool. You gave that a shot and you did excellent, man. That's why we're talking today. I'm interested in your fueling and nutrition throughout it. With the classic, like we talked about in the first conversation when you were on the podcast, you were learning. You did excellent. I'm sure you walked away with a lot of things that you would change. What did you change with this 50K?
Hydration. I started drinking water like weeks prior. And I made sure to eat a lot more food and be a lot more ready. I made sure to have stuff in my body to burn off. The first 50K I did, the Brookfield Classic, I will admit I was not prepared at all. I thought it was going to be a lot different than it was. I mean, running the Boilermaker, running 9 miles, that's just, you kind of just run it. And when you can tough it out no matter what. I realize with these ultras, you can't, you have to prepare your body for it.
Yeah, so let's get into a little bit of details there. So you drink more water, you ate more food and whatnot. But give me some details there, like electrolytes, what kind of food, what did you take in?
I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't really eat the healthiest. I just made sure I had stuff in my stomach. I mean, we drove out there. I got out to Vermont, I think at about 10 o'clock that night. And the whole way I just stopped at rest stops and just kept eating and eating the whole way there. Hydration, I drank a lot of Gatorade, a lot of water. And yeah, it was really just snacks the entire time. I still don't know what to exactly like what your body should be having. So in my head, I'm like, just make sure it has something in it. That's still, I'm learning a lot there still.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That's a big improvement, though. The fact, and you didn't bonk, right, during the race at all?
No, I made it the whole way. I did really good the whole way. Even like
Okay.
the last 3 miles of the race was a road section, and that's road section. I actually gained 5 places on that section.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I
Yeah.
was, yeah,
So,
everybody was trail runners. I'm a road runner. The second I hit that road, it was like I was in my natural habitat right there, and I just took off. I was doing really good, but I do feel like my body probably only had maybe another 7 more miles in it before, I'm
mhm,
still learning what I actually need. I was running
sure.
low though.
Sure, sure. Well, dude, look at like if you compare to the classic compared to this, like a huge improvement in
Yes.
terms of your nutrition and how you felt and all of that. So, man, like that's great. Yeah, for sure. Like I think the more you dial in the electrolytes, calories, sugar intake, all of that, you're keep getting better. But man, you're
Mhm.
still new to that distance. And so yeah, that's awesome. When you finished and you look back on this last race, what areas could you improve upon going into the next 50K?
Hills. I got to start running more hills. That's what I have to do.
Mhm.
I have to pace myself a little in the beginning, but it's really just a lot of hills. As soon as I hit these uphills, I I can run on flat ground, but it's these hills really take a lot out of me.
Okay, so let's detail that out. Do you think it's leg endurance, leg strength, cardio, like VO2 max? Like, what's crushing you on the hills?
I just can't keep the speed going up them like these other people can. They get to these hills. I mean, it could be legs too. I mean, I feel like I have strong legs, but I'm like my hands are on my knees going up these hills, and I'm these people are passing me like I'm standing sometimes, and I don't know how they do it. I have no clue. But that's the
Mm,
thing. I'll pass them on the downhill. It's like
mhm.
I'm faster on the downhill, but then they're passing me on the uphill. So really, it's like it doesn't matter if I'm passing them on the downhill. If the end's an uphill, they're gonna beat me.
Sure, sure. How are you going to train to improve that?
A lot more hills. Just that's all I know is just try to find hills and run up them.
Okay,
And just
okay.
continue to run a lot. I've been doing a lot of bigger runs. I'll do like a 20-mile run here and there. Just do
Mhm,
a lot of bigger runs and trying to. I've considered going to like a gym and trying to like do like leg training. I've never
mhm.
trained my legs at a gym
Okay.
before. I've only ran. So I
Yes.
maybe that's something I could do, like maybe run with a weighted vest or something like that, if that would help.
Mhm,
Or
mhm.
I started running with weights. I do have 5 pound weights I run with, which that's a little bit of a difference. I run with that. That if I go for a run without them, I definitely feel a lot faster.
Okay. Yeah, man, all that's great. Strength training for sure, like more in the off season, I think is what a lot of these runners are doing for a lot of the
Okay.
lower body strength. One thing that I've been experimenting with and it's working and it's improving my running coincidentally is rucking. So 40 pounds in a backpack or a vest and I'm going for like 60 to 75 minutes at a brisk walk,
Mhm.
preferably with hills. And I monitor my heart rate. And so, like flats, my heart rate's only 80 to 90. So it's not really doing much. But up a hill with 40 pounds at a brisk pace, I'm holding like a 135 to 150 heart rate. So I'm working pretty good. And I'll tell you, when you
Mhm.
take that 40 pounds off, I feel like I could dunk a basketball.
Yeah, no, I definitely believe that. That's something I've considered doing. So I might have to give that a shot. That's a little
Yeah.
more weight than I would have even guessed to try.
Yeah, no, it's not much actually, dude. And for you, you'd be fine. We're similar size. But I think you're right on. Just let's not overlook the obvious, right? Like run more hills.
Hmm.
I think that, that'll definitely help you. Yeah. All right. So let's see here. nutrition outside of racing, over the last 6 to 9 or 12 months, like, have you dialed any of that in? I know we talked on the first podcast a little bit about, like, paying attention to certain things. Like, have you changed anything with that or no?
I've tried a couple times, but honestly, like since my work seasons began,
Mhm.
I'm on the go a lot, so I still eat a lot of fast food and still eat not as
Sure.
healthy as I'd like to. It's really tough with my schedule sometimes to um yeah, get different food.
Sure.
I live on the go basically.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
let
definitely tough, but
Yeah, let's give the listeners a little bit of background on that. We'll get into it later in the call here. I mentioned in your intro, you're an entrepreneur. So you own a tree cutting service, and it's very physically demanding. You're at different locations. You're working out of your truck essentially. So yeah, I can see completely. I've had many jobs in the past with landscaping and beer delivery and lawns and everything. So I understand what you're going through. You can't pack like this giant cooler of very prepared meals there. So, so I get that it's hard. I'm curious, do you drink alcohol?
I drink, yeah.
You do? Yeah. Is it frequent or not?
Not too frequent. I've drank definitely, I've drank a lot more before, but now I'm trying to focus a lot more on my running and trying to get a little better, get a little smarter.
Sure. Yeah. No, I get it. Like, a lot of the athletes I talk to, find that like consistent alcohol intake is obviously imperative to training. So, like, obviously you have, parties and certain get-togethers and whatnot. That's different. But being a high performing athlete long term, and being a frequent drinker obviously doesn't go hand in hand. So I was just curious where you were with that. How about supplements? What supplements do you take? Any?
Like, what do you mean? Like the workout, like pre-workout stuff like that?
No, no, not necessarily. So like magnesium, zinc, vitamin C, B,
I don't
anything
take
like that?
anything. Nope.
Nothing. Okay.
No,
Okay.
I'm no pretty. If they don't sell it at a gas station, I probably don't. It doesn't go in my body.
Tyler, you're awesome, buddy. Boy, man, yeah, all right. You're gonna be running a sub 5 hour 50K here when
Oh,
we
that's my plan. I am doing a lot of running for that. That's my plan this year.
yeah, no, I know. And we've talked a lot offline. And so yeah, some of these tweaks are gonna help you a lot. That's cool. So what is the next event that you're training for?
Right now, I mean, the Boilermaker's next month. So that my time was an hour, hour 12 last year. So I'm going under an hour. That's
Okay.
my goal. That is, yeah, it has to be. I've been training for like 10 years for this. And I shave off like probably almost 30 seconds every single year. So this year is going to be my year.
So you said last year you said hour 12, but it was in 60 minutes and 12 seconds, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Not 72 minutes. Okay.
No, no,
Um,
1 hour and 12 seconds. So
okay.
I want to see 59. That's my
Uh,
goal. That's what I'm really training for. And
So
then after that, I'm gonna start looking for another 50K. I'd like to do another 50K or 50 miler before the Brookfield Classic. Like, I mean,
yes.
I would do it tomorrow. I feel like I'm already ready for it again.
Sure, sure. So with the so obviously running a 15K compared to a 50K, the speed and strategy is very different. What have you done to prep for the 15K, the Boilermaker there?
I when I prep for that, every run I do, I just run as hard as I possibly can. Like my
Okay.
5Ks, I do like sprinting 5Ks. My 5Ks are down to like 18 something right now.
Wow.
So yeah, so I'm just trying to sprint as hard as I can because again, 15K is just a dead sprint for me. I can sprint. That's all it is. I don't have much more of a sprint after that, but that's all I do. So
Yeah,
that's my big goal in running. That
what
means the Boilermaker means as much to me as like the big races do.
sure, sure.
That's my favorite race.
Okay. Yeah. What's the mile split for a 60-minute Boilermaker?
Um, I think I have to do like 6 minutes and 30 seconds a mile or something like that.
Okay.
I think
So
that's what, or
yeah.
640, somewhere's around there.
Okay. Are you do you track your heart rate at all like with a chest strap?
I use my watch,
Okay.
so like I
Yeah.
think that keeps track of it.
Yeah, it does, but it's not accurate. So you should
Yeah,
invest in, yeah, get Tyler, get a Polar H10 chest strap. They're like 80 bucks. It'll sync to your watch, and you can start to geek out to some of this stuff, in terms of
mhm,
your zones, your VO2 max, lactate threshold. None of it's hard to figure out, and I could talk to you or Andy or Bob about that. But it'd be really, really interesting to see like where your heart rate is on that 15K,
mhm,
because the 15K distance, and Andy explained this to me, is your lactate threshold generally for most people. So I'd be curious to see like, are you at a 175 heart rate for an hour? Are you 178, 165? Like, where is that? And it's more just like geeky type stuff, but being that
mhm,
you're going to be a longer term runner, getting some of those numbers down would be interesting for sure.
mhm. Yeah, I've been like messing with my watch a little bit and trying to read some of the stuff and figure some of the things out, but still learning a lot of it. When
Yeah.
I started
Well,
running, I just put on a pair of shoes one day and said I'm going to go start running. And so, like, honestly, I've been running for probably 10 years, maybe a little over in the past year. The Brookfield Classic is what really got me learning so much more about running and what your body needs and like watching things. I always just told people you just run, just put on a pair of shoes and run. But when you start getting into like the level that I'm trying to get into, there's a little more to it than just putting on a pair of shoes and running.
yeah, well, again, credit to you, man. You're fast as hell, and you're doing great things. So two things for our listeners that you wish you knew when you first started running.
When I first started running, like years ago, would definitely be like what to keep in your body, like staying more hydrated. Because I
Mhm.
never, it's I can work all day. I swear there's can be days I can work all day and like I won't drink water. Like my mind is going and you realize, that I've done runs where like you stop sweating. And then like it's all downhill from there, and I hate that's not fun when your body starts to stop sweating. That's not a lot of fun. Um, and shoes. Shoes are something. When I first started running, I wore the same pair of shoes for 5 years. And
Yeah.
that, you buy a new pair of shoes, it was a full difference. So I've been trying to get in, like, buy a couple more pairs of shoes, like, more recently.
Mhm.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
That's something I would have never guessed either.
Yeah, it's so funny you bring that up because I didn't have this on here as a list of questions, but I thought of it during this call. Is yeah, footwear. This is sort of funny, but I went 40 years of well, I'm 41, so I would say 30 years of like being very, very active, and never once did I invest into a really good pair of running shoes.
Mm-hmm,
I always bought like the on sale. I was never fitted. On my last pair were like, gosh, what is it? It starts with an A. It's not Adidas. Asics. They were like
okay.
$35 Asic, like old person walking shoes. And I was just using
Mm-hmm,
those. Like, I just really never got into the whole, like, let's spend $180 on shoes. Well, our trainer, Andy, and good friend here, he let me try on the Saucony Endorphin Pros,
mm-hmm.
and holy shit. I
It's
literally
shoes are a big difference. I learned that.
I literally wore them for 2 minutes, and then I went and bought them like the next day. And my first run in a $180 shoe versus a $30 shoe was comical. I was like, this is totally transformative. And now obviously like footwear doesn't make you fitter, right? So like get over that whole piece. Like you still got to
Mm-hmm.
train and whatnot. But just having good shoes was like, holy cow. So what do you wear for road shoes? I'm curious.
Right now I run with Nikes. I'm not sure like which ones they are, but they've the only issue, like what I'm learning too, like they got like the harder sides on it, so they keep digging into my side of my ankle a lot. So I have a pair of Hokas that I've been like
Mhm.
switching back and forth, but I've always been a fan of the Nikes. Yeah, I'm not too sure which brand they or which one they are, but that's what I use.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How about your trail shoes? What are you running with trail shoes? Nikes too?
I usually my trail shoes are just like my retired road shoes, and which
Okay.
are the Hokas, which my Nikes, I just spend like almost $200 on those shoes.
Yeah.
I don't even wear them that much because they're just not as comfortable as my Hokas are. Because I switched those to the trail shoes, but I'm learning like which ones I like on my feet. I don't
Mhm.
like my Nikes, they have that harder side on it, and I'm not a fan of that anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
feet kind of too, like I don't know if I put different pressure on my feet at times, but like they keep sliding
Mhm.
sideways in those shoes. So I find it like I'm favoring one side of it and it's making it not comfortable. So that's what I mean. I'm still learning about like which shoes I should be wearing. I kind of want to talk to somebody that would actually, like I don't know if you can like step in something and learn where your pressure is on your feet or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, there is, Tyler. Have you ever gone to the sneaker store in New Hartford?
no, I have not.
Okay. So yeah, the sneaker store, they support and promote the Brookfield Classic. Also, I've bought a few different pairs of shoes there, and a lot of our clients and trainers have. So the sneaker store, they fit you to the
Okay.
right shoe. They will bring out Hokas, Nikes, Sauconys, Brooks, and they will fit you based on your foot type and the kind of running you're going to be doing and the kind of runner you are as far as speed and whatnot. They had me fitted into the Saucony Endorphin Pro, and then I just bought a pair of the trail shoes, the Peregrines, um, and they feel great. Yeah, they fit my feet great. And so yeah, sneaker store. I would definitely go there and tell them I sent you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely
All
check
right.
that out.
Yeah, for sure. Native Path has been a podcast sponsor of ours since day one, and it's because our clients feel amazing using their supplements. While a lot of products on the market today contain useless fillers and incorrect dosages, Native Path holds to a higher standard. Native Path's ingredients are sourced from only the highest quality, properly combined nutrients, all while being offered at competitive prices. Use code COMO15, that's COMO 15 at checkout, and receive 15% off each order. Lombardi Chiropractic has been Co-Movement's trusted chiropractor for the last 14 years. They have worked with hundreds of our clients, and I can confidently say they have the most knowledgeable and holistic approach to care that I have ever seen. Whether you suffer from migraines, low energy, nagging pain, or just simply want to improve your overall health, I highly recommend contacting the team at Lombardi Chiropractic. Mention the Co-Movement Gym podcast and receive 50% off your initial consultation and x-rays. Here at Co-Movement, we put a lot of energy into helping you become happy, healthy, and strong. But we're not the only ones needing a good workout. That's why a dog's day out is the best place in Central New York for your pet to spend their day. Your dog will be as happy and healthy as you when you let them run, play, and socialize instead of just sitting on the couch waiting for you to come home. Give your dog the active day out that they deserve. Mention this podcast and get a free day of doggy daycare at a dog's day out. All right, so I got a random question, but I want to know your answer on this. Obviously, we're living in very unique times right now, whether it's politically or whatever, a lot of interesting things going on. How about your local community? What are three things that you would do to improve your local community?
It's like you go into the gas stations nowadays, all these young kids, a lot of these gas stations have self-serving stuff, and they don't know how to socialize with anybody. A lot of people
Yeah,
just don't, and it's getting really weird, and I'm not a
yeah.
fan of it. I'd like to be able to talk to people when I go places.
I couldn't agree more. I actually complain a lot about like the lack of customer service now.
Yes.
Like I remember, gosh, maybe even just 10 years ago, like everyone wanted to be really nice and like over deliver and eye contact and
Hmm.
sir, how can I help you? Now I swear, like I go to Lowe's and like people are just annoyed when I ask them a question.
Yeah.
Or like I call and like I'll ask a question, like let's say with our billing software at the gym or something, and it's like they just don't want to help. And it's again, I don't think it's like maybe directly them being impolite, but it's just social skills, right?
It's all social skills to me. It's what a lot of people just lack. They don't want to do the face to face confrontation. They want to text you.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
Now, see, I'm 41, so half my life I spent really without much technology at all. I didn't get an iPhone. I'm actually only on my second iPhone. I was a really late adopter. I had a flip phone forever. I fought it and fought it and fought it, and I'm very happy that I did.
Hmm.
So like I've lived this 50-50 life, but like even your age group, you've pretty much right had the iPhone and connected to everything you're through your teenage years right till now, right?
For the most part, yeah. For the most part, I think I got my first phone when I was like 13 or 14.
Mm,
And then they were coming out with like the touchscreen phones and all that. But I remember when I was younger, I was against having a phone. Like I think my younger sister, she had a phone. She had a phone years before me. I think she was like
mhm.
3 years younger than me. I was against it. I was go outside, go. And yeah, I mean, I was probably even one of the last people in my grade to have a phone. Just
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was just against it.
Yeah, I joke, but I don't joke with my wife. Like when I sign off someday, when I just disappear to the woods and I have my circle of close training partners and friends, like I'm gonna go back to a flip phone. You know,
Hmm.
I think there's a lot to be said for the simplicity. Now, obviously, we need technology. It helps my business. It helps your business and whatnot.
Hmm.
So I'm not anti technology, but yeah, the kids yeah, especially the kids growing up from day one. It'll be interesting. Like I said, I'm not
Hmm.
anti technology, but I'm very pro outdoors, nature, activity, exercise,
Hmm.
personal relationships, like real relationships where you like call people and go on lunches and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And so yeah, it's yeah, that's cool. It was last night I was listening to a podcast with Tom Bilyeu and Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm sorry, I'm butchering his name, but he ran for president there for a little while, and Tom was saying that a lot of him at some level has sort of given up on trying to change the world through adults, and that he's going to be focusing on kids and the youth. While I obviously haven't given up on adults by any means, he sees more hope in the youth and really penetrating like the education system and some of the things you and I just talked about. So it was a unique perspective. But I think there's hope with everyone at all
Hmm.
levels. So it's cool, Tyler, hearing you express interest with the kids. If you were to give yourself advice to your 18-year-old self, what would it be?
Advice to my 18-year-old self. Um, get your head out of your butt. Get my head
Yeah.
out of my butt. I was my 18. I'm a little different than I was when I was 18. So it would be focus a little more on work, focus more on family, spend more time with family. That was a big one.
Okay. Yeah. When you say get your head out of your butt, like obviously you and I know like what the average 18-year-old is like. So you're saying you would focus more on working harder? Is it in school or outside of school? Or would you want to get an earlier
Outside of
maybe
school,
business?
I just like at that age, I was just living by the day. I wasn't thinking about tomorrow at all. I was just living in the fast lane kind of thing. And, I could have still had fun, but also been a little more responsible at the same time.
Do you think that school um, plays a role in the lack of direction that so many kids have, high schoolers, college kids, and whatnot, or no?
I wasn't much of a school person. I feel like some people are, some people aren't. Schooling for me, I was more, I got yelled at for not being able to sit in class. And I haven't been in a classroom since the day I got out of high school, and I'm pretty successful out here after this. So, there are some people that are meant for it and some people that aren't. And some people that aren't meant for it sometimes get told they're a bad guy because they're supposed to be doing what they really like can't, like, they're what they aren't supposed to be doing. They got different things in life going on, and or they have potential to do other things. And I always had trouble just sitting in school, and I got out of school and realized like that there's a reason why.
Yeah, well, I think Tyler, I think what you're saying is a lot of kids have that problem.
Yeah, I knew a
It's
lot of them.
yeah, it's you either fit in the box or you don't.
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't.
School is hard for me too. Very active kid, just like you. And yeah, if you don't fit in the box, a lot of these settings now uh don't encourage the unique ways of learning, right? And
Hmm.
capitalizing on, let's say you had a lot of energy in school, they would tell you to sit down, be quiet, and follow the rules. And that is discouraging, for
Hmm.
obviously the kids themselves, but I'm assuming parents too, and teachers. Um, so yeah, the school system I definitely needs to become more adaptive to the multiple
Hmm.
styles of learning. And especially speaking to the public school system, if they don't adapt, they're going to become extinct. There's way too many private schools coming up and unique ways of learning, homeschools, co-ops, and whatnot. So um yeah. So let's talk about your business. So you had school, you got out of school. What did you do right when you graduated? You didn't start your business right away, did you?
No, I didn't. When I first graduated, I tried to join the military when I enlisted. I mean, I did. I went to boot camp 2 or 3 weeks after I graduated high school. I enlisted
Mhm.
a week after I turned 18. So my entire senior year of high school, I was enlisted in the Marines,
Mhm.
and I got a medical discharge in boot camp. But that was my goal for my entire life, was to be a Marine.
Mhm. Mhm. But then
And
after
sometimes just
that,
things don't work out.
yeah, of course. So then after that, what did you do?
I came home, I did some work, and I worked a little bit. I remember being there when I got told I was getting sent home. I gave myself a goal that was go home. I was pretty good at cutting down trees. I was started cutting down trees when I was like 13. So it was something I liked a little bit. So I was like, I'm going to maybe try to start a business. And I wanted to move to a ski resort and over the winter time and work at a ski resort. So the next winter, there was a job fair up at Whiteface Mountain. Went up, drove up there, got a job. They asked me where I lived. I said, I don't have a place. They said, well, if you can get up here, you'll have the job. So I lived in my car for a little bit up in the parking lot in the middle of winter at the mountain.
Dude, let's talk about that real quick. First off, I had no idea. That's so cool. Um,
Yeah.
so so Whiteface, I just biked up Whiteface
Yeah,
on
I
the
saw
toll
that.
road there. Yeah. So you worked at Whiteface Mountain. You lived in your car, you said?
Yeah, between a car or like a friend's house, or yeah, like my boss one day, she tried letting me live at her house because like people would come to work and be like, "Hey, you got the Volkswagen out there?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" They're like, "How long you been in that parking lot?" It's like -10 degrees outside. It was fine. I stayed warm.
How long did you live in the car for?
About 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh wow. How long were you up in Lake Placid for total? Like a
Just the
whole
whole
season?
season.
Yeah.
So I left, I think April, end of April. So I got up there in December.
Yeah. And then you started your tree cutting service after that?
I came down here. I worked for a few other companies, worked with a couple people I know. So I didn't start my business until about 7 years ago. So I'm 29. So I figured like before I did anything like that, I got to learn everything about tree work and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it's tree work to me isn't something that you can just go start a business. If I had to see every part of it before I could do anything like that.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. So for people that aren't familiar, you're not just on the ground cutting trees. Like, I recommend checking out your Facebook page, and Instagram. Like you're up 40, 50, 60 feet cutting trees down, very technical type cutting. And
Yep.
it's a true art what you're doing. I actually watch all your videos. I find it completely fascinating and very, very cool. Um, so yeah, so how old were you when you started your company? 29, you said?
No, I started my company when I was 22, I think. I think it was 22 or 23 years old.
Okay. Okay. And
And
how
I'm
old are you
29
now?
now.
You're 29 now. Okay, cool.
Yep.
So yeah, 7 years in, I'm curious, what are a few mistakes that you made as a new business owner, and how did you handle those mistakes?
Mistakes. Well, you learn a lot by like where, like placing money. Money was a big one. Like where to spend money. It was pretty easy to, you know, put money in the wrong places and stuff like that. But I mean, I guess I was always pretty good with that. Mistakes wise, like on tree jobs, we never had mistakes. You know, we don't mess. That was one thing. That's why I didn't want to start a business until I started the business. Like I had to make sure I could take down a tree without causing any problems or anything like that. Um, but mistakes would be quoting. That's a tough one. That's one I'm still learning today. I still make mistakes on that. And that's
Mhm,
very tough. Like, cause you go do a job for someone and they seem really nice and they just, sometimes you can't let a customer tell you how to take a tree down when they call you to
mhm.
take a tree down, or you can't let a customer say, "Oh, it's just a small tree." And then like
Yeah.
you're mistakenly being like, "Oh, you're gonna be nice and everything." Oh, it is a small tree, but in your head you're like, "But it's a small tree, but there's a lot to it, or it's hard to get down." So
Mhm,
mistakes would be not going with your own gut. It's when you got to go when a customer calls me. I have to go with my gut. Doesn't matter what anybody else says or not. Because if I go with somebody else's, if someone says, "Hey, try it like this," and I do it like that, and something goes wrong, I can only blame myself, but in my head, I'm like, I shouldn't have done it like that because I listened to somebody else. If I did it my
mhm,
way, it probably wouldn't have gone wrong. But sometimes
mhm.
you listen to a customer because they're like, oh, just do it cheaply or do it that way. And that's when you'll mess up. Those are the mistakes. So really, if you're going to do anything like that, you got to go with your gut every time. If a customer calls
Mhm.
you, they're calling you to take down the tree. They're not calling you to take down the tree and have them tell you how to take down the tree.
Wow, that's a great point. And wow, yeah, how important is that? Like quoting a job
That's
correctly.
very important. I have
Yeah, like
messed up. I have had like, some errors like that. And after those moments, those are the ones where, it's a big learning curve. Cause again,
yeah,
you can only kick yourself in the butt.
for sure. And like in my industry, we sell obviously packages, so I'm not quoting, right?
Hmm.
But I'm friends with quite a few contractors. And yeah, it's so easy to mess that up. And a lot of times, the contractor eats that loss, right? Like if you quoted 700 for a tree and you were there twice as long and you're paying your help and gas and everything else, like, and you break even, you just wasted, a day or two of work for a break even or possibly lose money. So yeah,
Hmm.
I just did you post yesterday or the day before on that? Something like that?
Yeah. The job,
Yeah.
the job I'm on right now. Yeah, I took a pretty good loss on this one, and it was just
Mhm.
that's why some people, like when I quote a tree, there's some people that say, "Oh, I'll take a picture of it," and show you through a picture, and there's trees where there's giant trees that cost just as much as a small tree, or a small tree that costs just as much as a giant tree. There's so many factors that come into play, and I'm so used to doing giant trees where
Yeah.
sometimes my mess ups are on the small trees because I go look at it, I'm like, that's a small tree, that's easy, that's cake. But in the reality of it is, I still got to rig the entire tree out. It's still over a
Yep.
house. It might not be 100 foot tall white pine completely over a house, but sometimes the bigger trees are easier than the small trees, and I gotta remember that sometimes because it's like my ego. Like I want the big trees, so when I go to the small ones, I'm like, oh, it's just cake, it's nothing. I talk to the customers like it's no big deal. I mean, it is no big deal, but it's still time at that point.
Oh, yeah, and exactly what you said. Like, you have to rig the tree either way,
Yeah,
and
either way.
whether it's a small branch or a large branch, damage is damage to a property, and
Hmm.
it's gonna not be good either way. So yeah, well, yeah, hey, you've learned this at a young age, so quoting those jobs, yeah, is that's a good awareness, Tyler. All right, so you're on the job site now, shooting this from your vehicle. So
Yep.
we're let you run, man. I wanted to check in with you. I always enjoy talking. How can listeners get in touch with you, whether if they have a training question or are inspired by what you're doing, or they want to get a quote on having a tree cut down?
Either my Instagram, it's underscore Tyler Peters, or my Facebook, just Tyler Peters, or they could reach me on a phone call at 315-240-5536. And I just tell people if I don't answer during the day, it's probably because I'm up a tree, and I'll give you a call back as soon as I get out of the tree.
What's your company name called, Tyler?
Losing Limbs Tree Service.
Awesome. I love that. I love it.
It's a good name.
All
It's
right,
catchy.
Tyler, I'll keep following you, keep crushing every day. And, we'll see you at the Classic, okay?
Great, Josh. Yep, looking forward to it.
Okay, see you, brother.
Yep.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider supporting our sponsors, Native Path Supplements, Lombardi Chiropractic, and A Dog's Day Out Doggy Daycare. They help us bring you 2 new episodes each month and have a special discount just for our listeners. See the show notes for more details. Thank you, and see you next time on the Co-Movement Gym podcast.